All right. So let me begin by saying we've got an update on where we are right now in our budget, and that's the most pressing thing on everyone's mind. I wanted to take just a moment and thank Commissioner Shoaf is here tonight. He's chairman of the Budget Committee, and we have worked a lot over the last few months to try to get across the finish line with a budget. And you know, we did not get there last night. I appreciate Chairman Shoaf and Mr. Don Schmidt for making a motion to try to come up to close the gap between the school board and the county commission with our budgets. And so he and I talked this afternoon trying to figure out what all of our options were moving forward. And so he was willing to come over here and share his perspective with the school board. And so I'd like to ask Mr. Brewer, if you don't mind, if we could suspend the rules for Mr. Shoaf to be able to speak.
All right. Motion by Mr. Wise, second by Mr. Daniels. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Mr. Shoaf, come on down.
Right over there. You've already done better than I do on these votes, Mr. Shoaf, on suspending the rules.
Hey, thank you guys, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me speak. Dr. Langford has come and suffered our slings and arrows, so I will come and suffer yours. I just wanted to lay out where I think potential paths are here, and those paths with different levels of good or less good outcomes. So the first thing I think is important to understand is the timeline that we're under. And I'm sure most of you all are aware, if we have basically a ticking clock through August 31st, and if we don't pass a budget we at the county commission must submit a balanced budget. We have the numbers basically there, but if we do not pass a budget for the schools, it will revert to last year's maintenance of effort. So that's kind of the wall we're facing right now, and I don't think anybody wants that. I can kind of laugh about it, but right now, I don't think 2 years ago anybody would have guessed that Jeremy Mansfield and Bob Brown would be good with giving $7.5 million, 6% extra. I think everybody's good with and nobody wants us to hit a wall where we revert to last year's maintenance of effort. So I think that's the thing that we can all align to and say, hey, we don't want that. So I think we all are in agreement that $7.5 million is something that we know we can do. We know you all need that. Where we have a question around is the roughly $5.5 million more. I don't know if this is working. I'll just try to talk louder. So just to get down to brass tacks here, we're arguing over $5.5 million bucks. What I would tell you is that if you look at the votes last night as kind of a proxy for where the entire commission is, what you would see is that it's close, but that I think the votes are largely going to be there for $5.5 million if it is structured in a one-time fashion. If that additional $5.5 million is structured in such a way that it contributes to a maintenance of effort, I do not think that will pass the full commission. Keep in mind that the next budget that gets submitted will go directly to the full commission floor. It's not going to go, we're not going to pass it through everything. It's going to go to the full commission floor, so that's where you kind of got to be looking. So my take on it is that the smoothest and simplest path, and this is a path that I think, we've got two kind of groups here and we all want to fight. It's normal. I don't think either side's going to be particularly happy with it. I think some want to hold hard on the 7.5, and we heard those reasons why. I think there are fine reasons why that's the case. We heard, previous board meetings why the originally more like 15 million was asked, and there are good reasons for that. What we're trying to do is find a way to not hit that wall where we revert back, and to find a path that we can all agree on. I think that path is $7.5 million recurring maintenance of effort, which we know, just kind of looking at last year's budget and the trend lines, that we can manage that. $5.5 million, we know we have that in capital. Is that capital we could use somewhere else in the county? Yes, but it's also capital I think we could do here. That's my opinion. Not all share it, but I do think the majority likely shares it, and that is important. I can't speak for them, but I think that's probably the case. So what I would posit for you all to consider is a path that builds on exactly that, takes us with the $7.5 million in recurring, and then finds the 5.4 or 5.46, I think somewhere around there in one time. And I think that is likely to be something that we can at least all walk away and not put a gun to each other's head. So I'll pause there to take any questions.
Mr. Lancaster.
First of all, thanks for being here. My question kind of is all about timing at this point. I know we have, and I don't know what's true and what's not true, but between you and Dr. Langford, I hope y'all can tell me. I know we're having a special call Tuesday or sometime next week. Y'all have to have 10 days notice, 10 business days notice before
Correct.
you can meet, right?
Yep.
And then we also have a contract deadline with the whole stadium thing. So do you think there would be, I know y'all are looking at doing it the 26th.
Yeah,
And I've asked Dr. Langford earlier today by text to see if there was a chance we could get an addendum to the contract extended. I don't know, that's my main thing. Is do you think we got some work room for?
It would be very difficult, but it is. Maybe it's possible. I think it depends on what this board does tonight. I think if this board does, some kind of showing that says, hey, we can move toward a plan that the commission could pass. I think maybe we can try to put together a timeline that can get us there. I will tell you that it's tight. I can't make that promise.
No, I'm not. I'm asking. At this point, I'm not asking anybody to make a promise. I'm just trying to figure out if it's even feasible to figure out a way to.
I would really hope that. This is one of these things that in the course of negotiating with some of these folks. It's my opinion. Come head up for it, but these are big contracts for these guys, and I think asking we have to get something over the hump by the end of the month anyway. I would think asking for a 30-day extension on that, knowing that they are full well, we're gonna get an answer up or down. I would hope that the business mind on the other side of that would see that as reasonable. That would be my hope. I'm not the person having to negotiate.
That's what I'll ask that because I did send you that request today just to see.
My concern is that there's another school district nearby that's putting out a school for bid, and I have a real feeling that Biskin, our winning contract, might. I don't know this, right? So but informally, what I've heard is that they would prefer to bid that because it's a project that's about double the size of the stadium project, and it's in one location, not three. So that's my concern there. We can certainly ask and find out. I can't turn that around in one day to get a formal,
I just would like to be at least proactive on making the request.
No, we're happy to do that, but I know that the problem that you have right now is because I think like 8-9 years ago, it was probably easier to get commercial contractors to extend, but there's so many jobs out there now that they can do. My concern is they're just going to walk. But I don't know. I can absolutely check on that. But also just want to be realistic on what I think I've heard.
At this point, that's what I'm doing. I just want realism from anybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lancaster. Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I want to make sure I'm clear. So today's the 16th. Your next scheduled meeting for the full commission is the 29th. Is that correct?
26th, I believe.
Is that the 26th? Okay, so from a timing standpoint, if we were to wait until next week to bring this up for discussion and it maybe pass or maybe not pass your recommendation, would that give inadequate time for the commission to consider it?
I'd have to look. I don't have a schedule here in front of me. I'm trying to have to back it out. I don't want to give it an absolute yes or no. I think the answer is probably no. At least to get in by the 18th, right? Because what you have to do is back up to the 18th and then back up 10 business days from that, and then march forward to the next day from whenever. I guess it would be like the 22nd. It would be very, very tight.
Okay, so there would be less risk of us running into a timeline issue if we brought it up today than if we waited till next week.
Ideally, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, you may want to talk to Dr. Langford about this. I think he's been doing some digging into how to structure it, and I don't have a perfect answer there either.
Yeah, Mr. Graham, I think, so I talked to Mr. Lawing today for about 30 minutes about what our options were. The biggest thing is the state law requires 10 days of notice, and that's public notice from the newspaper. So there's a certain deadline, which I believe was today at noon.
That's correct.
To notice for I think it's July 29th is the next commission meeting. So I requested this morning before noon that it be noticed that we might consider the school's budget on the 29th. Now, I think that's going to, I think the question there where we're going to have like Mr. Presnell and Ms. Brown are currently looking at all of our options and trying to work through that and looking at the law and everything like that to see. This is not a hostile thing. This is just trying to figure out what flexibility we have in the law. So like, and Mr. Shoaf, correct me if I'm wrong, let me see if I can explain where I think we are. The sticking point in the action with the commission last night is we met before the last budget committee meeting in June, and so we felt like we were creating the maximum amount of flexibility for the commission to request extra revenue by putting it in other county revenue. Mr. Long's interpretation, which I think is accurate, is that if they put it in that line in the county commission budget, it comes to us, and even though it's specified as other county revenue, it rolls in as maintenance of effort, and there's obviously not a majority of votes to add another $5.4 million to the school budget in maintenance of effort. So the question, I think we're in a little bit, I mean, it's weird because I don't really think, like I agree with Mr. Shoaf, I don't think there's enough animosity between all the different stuff. Like I think everybody really wants to get this, I think there's a majority of the county commission that wants to get this, just like there's a majority of the school that wants to get this done and build football stadiums and pay our employees, and they want to pay their employees and everything else, because holding up not only hurts us, it hurts every employee in the county, everything too. So the question is how do we structure this in terms of the $5.4 million in a way that doesn't trigger having to renotice and do all that stuff? Like, I don't think that it matters whether we act tonight. After I talked to Mr. Lawing, that's when I sent y'all the email that we pulled the budget thing off tonight, because it's hard for me to ask Ms. Brown and her team to find what's the best financial strategy in about 12 hours, and then give y'all time to consider it. So, I mean, especially at the deadline. Now, if we can find a way that doesn't trigger the notification and we can meet, we could certainly do a special call meeting earlier. I don't think that would be I could recommend that we do that, and I don't think there would be a problem with that, but that's going to be something that our attorney, Mr. Sittler, Mr. Lawing, Ms. Brown are going to have to probably, I'm going to guess, research a little bit and look into tomorrow. So I'm not sure, my understanding, and Mr. Shoaf, you may have a better understanding than you've talked to Mr. Lawing too. I believe, I don't know what he noticed to the paper today at noon, and that would probably indicate, because when I talked to Mr. Lawing earlier, he was not planning on including the school budget in the notice.
And I don't know that we did. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it either, but I don't think we have. I don't think we did.
At which point we're going to have to look at a series of special called meetings, most likely, I would think, unless we wait until the August meeting.
It's if the there's a series of kind of steps here, and they're like a binary. If you're able to make a call, and if the director's able to make a call and get a 15 or 30-day extension, I think all this becomes not nearly as big of a worry. If we can't do that, then it's a little bit more. Right. It's a little bit more pressing. I've spoken with Mr. Long about this. At the end of the day, if you're not ready to put together a proposal that is going to kind of pass our finance team's sniff test in making sure that those two things are bifurcated out. If that's not ready, then it probably doesn't make any sense to you could try to take a swag at it tonight, and then it wouldn't be right, and then we'd be right back where we were. So, if it's not ready, it's not ready. It just kind of is what it is.
And then-
Yeah, I'm just, my concern is if the notice has already gone out, like I know how those newspaper notifications work. Once they hit that deadline, it
It's
goes to
done.
print, and they're not, which is weird because it's mostly online, but that's still the way they roll.
Secondary to that, I was at the meeting last night too because I wanted to observe firsthand what the discussion was.
Bless you.
And as I understand, the proposal was that that $5.5 million would come in the form of a supplement outside of our maintenance of effort. If it is in the form of a supplement, does that mean that the county commission is the one who approves the bids and
No.
that kind of thing?
No.
Or is it just set
No,
aside?
we would set it aside as a line item in capital, and
Okay.
then kind of hand it to you. We wouldn't be the ones. We wouldn't be overseeing the bid process for that, because that wouldn't even make sense, right? There's not that 5.4 is not there's not an exact 5.4 million that's earmarked. That 5.4 million, to your point, is a supplement for a broader set of projects that you're asking for. So I don't. Even if we could, I don't understand how it would be. We wouldn't really be able to do it, even just execute on it that way, even if we were legally able to. Yeah, no,
Thank you, Mr.
that's
Green.
not how it would work.
Ms. Andrews?
Yeah, just curious within the legalities of the bid and bid rules and so forth, because of, we put it out and we say, hey, these are going to be good for 60 days. Is it within legal limits for us to even request an extension?
That's a good question. You're at the grace of the person that won the bid. I know that aspect. Like I'll have to check. We'll have to check the legalities and everything.
So we can make the request to them and it not hinder any of the other components as far as
Right.
since there was multiple
It's
people
going to
who-
make them jumpy, but jumpy doesn't mean they're not going to. They've won a bid that we approved. We're pending being able to sign it. I guess in theory they could pull their bid, but I don't think with the relationship that we have with Biskin that would happen. I think we can make the request, but I do think that just being truthful, I think there's a strong chance that if we get, it's actually, just so you know, like the 16th is the Friday. I checked again today, noon on that Saturday, so the 17th at noon. We've thrown a couple dates around. I've been guilty, sometimes when you're on your feet talking for 2 hours, you misspeak a date or something. So it's noon on August 17th is the last time that we have where we can sign the bid for it to be binding. So we can certainly ask for a 2-week extension. I'll be happy to do that tomorrow, but I don't know what I don't know what their timeline would be to get back with us on that. I suspect it would be pretty quickly, but that's not something I can.
So it's not
answer.
within the legal limits, and the other company who also bid, there's no concern about repercussion from them
Yeah.
saying, hey.
Those
it's kind of-
are some clarifications that I need to
Okay.
get.
And then another clarification for Mr. Shoaf, y'all are still meeting on July 29th? Y'all
We
will
are.
have a July meeting?
We have- that's our-
Okay, so you'll be July 29th, just not
Correct.
address budgets, and then the budgets are scheduled for August 26th?
26, correct. And I said 26th earlier. That was for the August 26th one. The 29th one is just this month's regular.
Because I think there is some
scheduled meeting.
confusion because of the discussion last night with August 26th that I think there's some assumptions that y'all are skipping July, and I was like, I don't think that
No,
they can.
yeah.
So July is still happening as well on the 29th and then the 26th.
Correct.
And then if there's any possible special called meetings, and just to clarify, because I've had a couple people say too, that it's not Commissioner Shoaf that would be able to call those special
That's
called
right.
meetings, it would be Commissioner Hyde.
That's correct.
As chairman.
That's correct.
Okay, Ms. Andrews, Mr. King?
Yeah, Mr. Shoaf, if, let's say the votes aren't there, is it possible that the county commission can pass a budget that includes just the 7.5? Or is that, are we beyond that at this point?
We can only vote about your budget up or down. That's why I'm here. If we were able to line item something, I would just line item it, but we can't do that. We can only give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Okay.
So I guess I'm basically saying is, as it's, and again, I'm not here speaking for the full commission. I'm just kind of reading the room and looking at what I'm seeing. I don't think the votes are there for the thumbs up as it is, right? I mean, I made the motion yesterday to send it back, but I didn't want to send it back here with, cutting out the 5.4 supplemental. But I was overruled by the budget committee, which I'm just one vote in there ultimately. Nevertheless, here's the things I can say with a high degree of confidence. The budget as it is very unlikely to get past the full commission. The budget with 7.5 is all but 100% going to get through. The 5.4 is likely to get through if it is, I think, very, very likely to get through if it is structured in such a way that it does not contribute to maintenance ever. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.